Lio Rush is a guy who at 28 years old has done more than most of us will possibly ever be able to fit in our lifetimes. He's had runs in both WWE and AEW. He has traveled the world wrestling. He's got a wife. He's got 3 kids. All this before he's 30 years old, and we've been on the journey with him every step of the way. Now Lio Rush is coming into the Notsam studio to talk about everything, be it the controversies, be it retiring from wrestling at a very young age only to announce that he's coming back to wrestling, the WWE run, going through the NXT system, 205 Live popping up on Monday Night Raw as a mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley, even though he never considered himself a promo guy. Everybody has a lot of preconceived notions about Lio Rush. I thought it might be a good time to get to know him. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lio Rush. Wow, this is one that I'm surprised hasn't happened before now, but I'm happy it's happening now. Ladies and gentlemen, the bad child, the black heart, the man of the hour, Lio Rush. Nice. Welcome, man. How are you, dude?
I'm good. With that introduction, it sounded like you were about to press a button and then the crowd starts clapping and stuff. No, but I'm excited to be here. I'm glad that, like you said, we're finally able to do this. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've known you and have followed your career for so long, and I was thinking about before you got here, like not only your career but your entire life. Like at 28 now. And this is, I guess, part of, I don't know, because it's not just having success at a young age. It's your entire life at a young age. At 28, 2 kids, wife, WWE, AEW, indie run, Japan. And it's like, this is the entire lifespan of most people done in just a hair under a decade for you. Yeah. Are you finally at a place now where you're reflecting on that?
I definitely think so. I find myself reflecting on a lot of things lately, and I think it's because I'm doing a lot of things. I feel like I've, crossed one bridge and have recrossed that bridge like multiple times. So I'm kind of getting a chance to compare how it went the first time to how it's going like now. Now that I'm like older, now that I have more experience, now that I'm, just being able to see like, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting being able to do the amount of things that I've done already in my career. And understanding that I've gotten to do those things at such a short amount of time. I'm definitely doing a lot of reflecting and living in the moment, and just a lot of adult things right now mentally. I'm excited.
Yeah, I guess because physically you've been doing adult things, but now mentally you're starting to think like an adult.
Exactly. Yeah. Now the mental part is starting to catch up with all of the things that I've done, and like you said, like realizing like, oh man, like I guess I did do that when I was like 20 years old. I guess I did do that when I was 20. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so it's cool to see what I've done up until now in my life.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like you're starting to get comfortable with who you are now, or is that something? Because like for me, I mean, I didn't really figure out who I was until I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
But I also don't know because it also took me until I was in my 30s to accomplish half of what you've done in life and professionally. So did that come earlier for you because of that, or is that when you talk about thinking like an adult, is that kind of what's happening? Like, oh, this is who I am as an adult.
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't have the energy to not be myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is everything that I've done in my life has been a testament to who I am, like as a person, as like an individual. You know, me having a clear, hard work ethic. You know, you can't do all of those things if you don't have that. You can't, you know, do all of those things if you don't have drive, if you don't have passion, if you don't have all of these things. And I feel like people are starting to see me more as the person rather than, you know, the things that I've done and the stories that have came from them that have nothing to do with me as an actual individual. You know what I mean? Like it's, I think I am so comfortable with who I am, like right now. And, I mean, I've always been comfortable with who I am, but I don't think I've always fully understood it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like, you know, even like growing up in PG County and growing up on, Southeast DC and having the family history that I have and understanding, okay, you know, I have certain traits because I was raised by these people, or I have, you know, certain things about me that make me different from the next person that's grew up and raised in a different environment. And, you know, I know who I am as a person. I know the things that I have overcome in my life. I know all of the things that have, you know, molded me into the person that I am today. And I'm proud of it. You know, I'm proud of me. And I'm proud that I've been able to, move in the way that I have in the world of professional wrestling. I think it is definitely something that's cool, that's admirable, a story that I can tell my boys, you know, and one that's documented, like heavily documented.
Yes.
I think it's really cool.
You do, because it's interesting, because a lot of people would be like, ooh, I wish the whole world didn't see that, scars and all, right? Because I think, like, when you talk about it, because that's what I thought of when you talked about your work ethic, is also, I feel like kind of watching your story from, you know, 1,000 yards away, is that, like, the overarching part is that you're not going anywhere, right? like what's amazing to me is that there's been whether it's like, because like the whole world is telling you, no, go away, or you're injured, and it's like, or you say I'm retired, and it's like, you've had every reason in the world to get everything's been on top of you, and it's like there's been every reason for you to go, I'm not taking myself out this time. I'm just gonna, I especially because you've done as much as you've done. I mean, no, I'm done. And it's like, you're not done. Right? You're still somehow here, which is amazing.
Because it's not about me. You know, it's never been about me. I feel like I have to keep going. I have to push forward. I have to, you know, because who else will? You know, I got 3 boys back at home that look up to me, that genuinely look up to me, that admire me, that love me. You know, family members who look up to me, that I inspire. You know, people who I grew up with who look up to me and that I inspire, and you know, them having more than less of the, or less than, I'm confusing myself, but they don't have the opportunities that I have to make something out of.
Right. So
you know what I mean?
Yes,
like
that you have as much as you have, and for you not to take advantage of those opportunities would almost be disrespectful to those people that are struggling and don't have half the opportunities.
Not
that
disrespectful, but just, you know, I come from a place where, you know, not a lot of people venture out of. Not a lot of people seek to find out what's different or what's new or what's out there. Me being a professional wrestler where I'm from is like, it's like saying that I'm the new, Santa Claus or something.
Right. It's
So
a
mythical.
Myth. Yeah.
It's like you do what? Like, is this you? Like right here, this is you. And they're like looking right at me. I'm like, yeah. Well, I'm just in this grocery store, just like you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. The idea that could even happen to a person.
Yeah.
Like, but you're just a person.
Yeah.
How could somebody achieve that?
I'm just a person that, literally had a dream since I was 5 years old. I know. Literally had a dream since I was 5 years old, and wrestling isn't the only thing that I've done athletically in my life. I've played so many other sports. I've been invested in so many other sports. I've excelled in so many other sports because I just didn't stop.
Yeah.
I just didn't stop. I didn't stop believing in myself. I didn't think anything was impossible to do.
You just did it.
I just did it, and I didn't create excuses to not go after something. I remember, going to schools and stuff, and people asking me of, well, how do you get a job? Do you not get a job? Like when you're like an indie wrestler, like how do you make money while you're wrestling, like on the indies? And I didn't have a job. I didn't, my car was breaking down every day, smoke out of my car trying to get to training while I have a son, not having a day job, scraping pennies from underneath my car mats to try to go to the grocery store and get dinner for the night, like little dollar burritos and stuff like that. Like, so I don't know. I just didn't stop. And that is, I just didn't stop.
Well, it takes a tremendous amount of belief in yourself, though.
Yeah.
To do that, right? Like you have to really go, no, I'm going to be able to do this, because I mean, there's got to be people, even when, if you're going to schools, and you see somebody and it's like, I don't know if you should go hungry over this, because I don't know if it's going to pay off for you, right?
Yeah.
And that's not to say like, well, I'm better. It's just like I don't know. You can almost look in somebody's eyes and go like, I don't know. Maybe you should, because there are other people, right, that have become very successful, and had worked at that supermarket, during the day and wrestled at night. But I guess for you, you just had this tunnel vision, where it was like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What, for you, is it like, is it at all, or have you made that shift? Because I'm sure for a long time, I would think you identified yourself, because I know other people identified you as being so good and being so young, right? He's so good for a kid. You're not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
You're still so good, obviously.
Yeah.
But like this idea that that's not the story, that's not who you are anymore.
Yeah.
You're a guy, a man who is good at this. You're not good for someone who's so young. Did that transition happen mentally for you, or is that not even something you considered?
I think I don't look at it like that, because I've played sports literally my entire life. That's, you know what I mean? I played sports so much my entire life to the point where, and I just said this the other day, but like, I feel like I can't do anything athletic without being competitive at it. Mentally, it just doesn't work out that way.
Right.
So I try to, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I could be a really good golf player, because I was a really good baseball player before I was an amateur wrestler. I played baseball my entire life, since I was, 4, to t-ball, to coach pitch, to, to going to summer camps and being a alumni at the Cal Ripken Stadium to playing in middle school, high school, like just at every level. I played baseball, except for college, obviously. But me just playing sports my entire life, I feel like I can't do anything without being competitive at it athletically. I forgot the original question.
No, I was just talking about, you transitioning from like, I'm one of the things that makes you good is you're good because of how young you are versus now it's just like, no, it stands on its own.
I think I can't look at it like that. I think more so I think about it in a, because like you said, I don't even see myself as good. Like that's how much it just feels like it's a part of me. Like this is just who I've been like my whole life. So I don't I get embarrassed when people say that I'm good. Like I get embarrassed when people like heavily compliment me or
which is hilarious because just a minute ago you were like, I'm pretty sure I could be an excellent golfer. But I said that to you, you'd be like, come on.
Yeah. But that's if you see me golf, like for, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I like to just casually play it. Like you know what I mean? I don't like to think too heavily on it. Golf is probably the first sport and only sport that, I can play golf without thinking that I need to be in the PGA tournament.
Right. You're like, finally, I can just enjoy this. And like it's a hobby.
Yeah, it's a hobby. I'm trying to do athletic things as a hobby, and it's very hard for me.
Right. I get it. I get it. Yeah. Because you go like, oh, yeah, it's kind of fun just throwing the ball around. I think I should go into training for it.
Exactly.
And now we're not having fun anymore. Exactly. We're just like, this is my new profession.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm trying my hardest. It's pretty difficult. But yeah, I don't think that hasn't hit me. I think I've gotten into the stage of people. I think me realizing why certain people might have thought that I had like an attitude like when I was younger, or like just all the little random weird stories about me that have like come out. I feel like I didn't truly understand myself as an individual. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to.
But you're being ultra competitive.
Yeah.
And people, because wrestling is such a unique thing.
Yeah.
It isn't like a football locker room.
Yeah.
There is this sort of cooperation that exists. Yeah. And so it can be taken the wrong way.
I think people are starting to understand, like seeing me in person, like, oh, he's just like naturally quiet. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to ignore anybody or talk.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
like,
that's another thing.
So weird.
That's another thing that's unique. I don't know if it's unique to pro wrestling, but it definitely exists in pro wrestling where if you are kind of an introvert and you're just like, you're nervous before you're going out, or you're shy, or you don't want to say the wrong thing, so you're just kind of keeping to yourself. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, he thinks he's better than everybody, huh? And you're like, what? No, what?
Yeah. So that's another. I like being on. I like wrestling as much as I am now, being on the road and being in different locker rooms, and because people can have that interaction with me personally instead of me, just being signed to one company and I'm never seen in person.
And you just
like
hear the
years.
Legend of
Yeah. So I'm enjoying, what I'm doing.
I want to go back because I feel like that the whole thing kind of started, right? That sort of like all the weird stories starting popping up and everything. Yeah. I was at your last CZW match at the Onita show, right? Where it was you and Joey Janela.
Yeah.
And sold it, and it was you had gotten signed, and everybody knew it was your last CZW, it was your last independent, whatever. And sold a powerbomb off a ladder.
You were there.
I was there. Sold a powerbomb off a ladder, and I remember just being like, "Oh yeah, it was a fun spot, whatever."
Yeah.
And then, just as you're entering into WWE, it's, "Hey, that's the kid who's killing the business."
Yeah.
Were you couldn't have expected going into the WWE that who's this Lio Rush guy that's coming in? Oh, he's killing the business on the indies.
Yeah.
That you couldn't have expected that would be the result of that.
No, and it came right after, and I don't know if you remember this or not, and maybe I'm making it a bigger deal than what it actually is, but when WWE signed me, they put on the website, front page, it was on the website, it was the first thing that popped up, literally the first thing that pops up, and it says, WWE signs 22-year-old wrestling prodigy Lio Rush. I've never seen them do that.
Right.
I've never seen them do that.
Right.
Like at the time, I mean, they probably do it now. I mean, I haven't been on the WWE like actual website in like forever. Even when I was in WWE, I never went on the actual website unless I had to watch it, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like thinking at the time, like, man, like this is huge. Like, I guess I'm gonna be like a big deal.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. Like,
guess what? They're gonna put the strap on me. Let's go.
Yeah, it was. I mean, probably not thinking that heavily
of
into
course.
it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just like, man, like they must be excited.
Yeah. Why would they post this? They call me a prodigy.
Yeah, they must be excited. You could have just said Lio Rush. You could have just said like they just signed a 22-year-old.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But
yeah.
to put the prodigy on it, so I was like hyped. I was like, oh yeah. And then, you know, about a week or two later, that's when the people started like, oh, this is the kid that, sold the Powerbomb. Yeah, and I was like, well, man, I guess that's killed.
Plus, it's well, there goes that goodwill. Yeah, and it also doesn't help, right, when you're like coming into the company described as a 22-year-old prodigy, and then you're like this shy kid, and people are like, oh. Yeah, this kid must think he's a prodigy. He thinks he's
It's not the best stars aligned in the beginning of that.
Yeah. But I guess eventually people were like, oh, I don't think he was purposefully trying to kill the business when he did that. I don't think. Yeah. But you made it to television fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Getting to NXT, right? Was that difficult to navigate, or did it come pretty naturally?
No, I just didn't really know what was happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was just living in Florida, going to the PC every day, and you don't know like when you're gonna get a call to do something. You know, that's all you know is show up to the PC, train, go through the classes, and when your time comes, it'll come. Be ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't, waiting on anything. I was just super focused on the training part of it. And then when I did get that opportunity to wrestle in NXT, it was like, okay, it's game time. Like, this is obviously where things start to pick up. Like, I'm no longer just a person in the PC. Like, I'm on screen. Obviously, some other things are going to trickle from this opportunity, which will keep me on screen. So here we go. Like,
and you're keeping your name.
Yeah,
which was big, right?
Yeah.
That was a surprise,
big.
right?
Yeah, that was big.
Yeah.
They tried to make me change my name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was gonna have a different name. Do you
remember what it was gonna be?
No. No.
And what did you just go like? You were able to convince them to let you keep your name?
I don't really know what happened. I really don't know what happened to make them just say, you know what, just let them be Lio Rush. But I'm glad that it happened.
Yeah,
I'm glad that it happened.
Yeah, is it so? Once it's all like upward momentum and you're on TV, then you get pulled off TV. Perception of heat starts to go everywhere. Everybody's like, oh, attitude problems, this, that.
Yeah.
It has to be difficult to be like, okay, we're getting up here, and then yanked right down.
Yeah.
And again, you don't even know. Yeah. Like, it's not like they go, okay, well, we're pulling you off, but we're going to let it just kind of blow over for 2 months, and then you'll be back. Like, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
At that point?
No, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like, you never really know.
Right.
You never really know anything.
Right.
Like, when you think you know something, you don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like stand in the middle, like, all right, where am I getting pulled next? And then just like when you think you're going this way, you get pulled by the ponytail or something and you go backwards. So it's just literally being prepared for anything.
Were you worried at all at that point that it was over? Like when they pulled you off and like there was like, oh, the attitude problem perception began.
Yeah.
Were you worried that it was like, oh, I don't know if they're going to bring me back?
I don't know. And I always think about like, would I have thought about it in a different way if I was like just on my own, if I was single, if I was, if it was me, if I was all I had.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like when I'm home, when I'm with my family, when I'm wanting to get a call, but I'm not getting a call, or if I want to get a text and I'm not getting a text, I'm not sweating it because I'm with my family. I'm spending time at home. I'm being able to, not think about being stressed out or frustrated or miserable. So it's kind of like a weight is like lifted off of your shoulders in a way, but also realizing like, okay, I'm still a part of the company because I'm still getting paid. So they can bring me back at any point. So still kind of being ready.
Yes.
For any, like I said, like just staying stationary, not going too far left, too far right, being in the moment and, all right, I need to be ready. I can get pulled at any time. So.
And I'm glad that you said that about family too, because I think that a lot of people don't realize it, that if you built a strong family, those are your people. And it becomes that sort of like, no, this is real life. Yeah. Like there are going to be stressors, there's going to be, but let me center myself. Let me get with my kids. These are my people.
Yeah.
It's not a job. It's not a this. It's like, this is my anchor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then when you do get called, it's like, you're coming up. We're bringing 205 Live, main roster. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And you were ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you enjoy 205 Live? I mean, a lot of people, in the beginning, there was a lot of energy kind of put into it. And then
I enjoyed it because it was I think it was the actual first introduction to Lio Rush.
Yeah.
The man of the hour. I only had about a match or two in NXT before I was on 205, but I was still kind of like indie, like Lio Rush, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like
you hadn't established yourself.
Yeah. So I think that was the first time where I was able to like really put some work in character-wise and like promo-wise and figuring out, okay, what does this look like long term?
Yeah.
Like what am I going to be remembered as? Like which character am I going to be when I'm inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame?
That's
awesome.
What I mean? Yeah.
Like thinking about stuff like that. So it's I liked it. I feel like that was I feel like it was a cool introduction to me, promo wise as a character.
Yes.
And as a wrestler, I know that the audiences were a little different from like mainstream like TV on the network and stuff like that. But like from like the actual WWE network, because doing that 205 Live schedule, you get to the main roster of SmackDown and you realize like, oh man, like some of these maybe they don't watch 205. You know what I mean? Like maybe I have to. So I don't know. But I enjoyed it. I heavily enjoyed it. I feel like it was the first chapter or first layer of like the Man of the Hour, Lio Rush, that people got to see on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, and it's I think a unique situation because you still get to have these great matches.
Yeah.
But you also get to have it under the bigger WWE main roster umbrella. You get to feel what it's like. What is it like wrestling in a WWE arena? What's it like being in this environment? And you kind of get to go in that way. It's super interesting though that you talk about like you got a chance to work on character and promo on 205 Live because that super came in handy.
Yeah.
When you go to Monday Night Raw and it's like you've been having these like you said, athlete is who you are. You've been having all these athletic matches both on the Indies and on 205 Live.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want to bring you in as a mic guy.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's, and you were great at it, right? Do you think that, and they wouldn't have, I mean, they put a live mic on you full time, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's one of those things where Vince or whoever it was making those calls saw something in you that you didn't even necessarily see in you, or did you see yourself as a mic guy?
No, I didn't see myself as a mic guy.
Yeah.
I did not see myself as a mic guy. That's probably the last thing that I saw myself as. Yeah, I probably would have saw myself as a referee before I saw myself as seriously.
Yeah, because a referee is athletic,
Yeah,
right? You do have to move around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. So to go week to week doing these matches, and for it to just be cut.
Yeah.
And like, okay, you're a mic guy now. And I'm like, okay. I didn't feel unprepared. I felt prepared because I've been writing the promos on my phone. I've been cutting them outside of the PC. I've been cutting them inside of the PC. I've been putting them on social media. I've been doing the vignettes. I've been, so I'm prepared. I feel like I can, okay, I can see why they want me to be a mic guy.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like you asked for it, right? You were cutting all these promos on social media. Yeah. It's like, all right.
But I just wanted to be a well-rounded professional wrestler.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I'm not cutting promos to I mean? Like, give me, I want to be a manager.
Yeah.
But I feel like even that helped me too. Like
100%, I'm sure.
It's helped me so much. Yeah, because it puts you in a different. It just puts you in a different role. It teaches you how to cut a promo a different way. You're cutting it about somebody who's with you rather than.
That's yourself. A great point. That's right. Now you have to tell. The point of this story is not to make yourself look like the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Which is what you're doing in the ring. It's to make that guy look like the greatest thing in the world. That's the story we're telling, and my voice is being used for that purpose.
The Almighty.
The Almighty. How did Bobby Lashley feel about that period? Like, was he kind of enjoying showing another side? Did he?
He liked it.
He did.
I mean, we both liked it. It was something so new, and
he was showing off his glutes.
Yeah, it was. Man, the silliest things end up being.
I mean,
the things that people remember the most.
I loved it when he was bending over and showing his glutes off. I'm like, there's something so stupid and simplistic and brilliant about this specimen. Now he's gonna bend over and show his glutes, and you're just right next to him going, "They're glorious."
Yeah, it's Bobby definitely enjoyed having me be a part of what he had going on, and I feel like it just turned into something that we didn't think it was going to turn into, like, at all, because it was so random.
Right.
It was so random.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, me and Bobby had no kind of connection, nothing. I've never even met Bobby before. So the first day of me cutting a promo about Bobby Lashley is the first day that I actually meet Bobby Lashley.
That's amazing. So, and it goes also back to your point about when you think you know.
Yeah.
That's when you absolutely have no idea, because I'm sure it's just like you're in there's just a room and it's like, we need a mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley, and it's like, this kid Lio Rush has been cutting promos on Twitter. Let's do that. And it's like, here we go, and if it clicks, this is what it's going to be now.
Yeah.
And now you're doing this whole thing that you never would have thought, but like you said, if you can do that well, it's got to give you that whole new layer of confidence where it's like, whatever you throw at me, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
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 So funny. Now, when they gave you a live mic for it's like, it's not just after the match you'll grab a mic and say something. Yeah. It's like you'll have a live mic on you the whole time. Are you going like, well, what am I supposed to say the entire match? Like, am I supposed to?
Oh, it definitely had a period of that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it definitely had a period of that. I think that's why I kind of got nixed pretty quickly. Because I only did it for like 2 weeks. I feel like I honestly feel like I only did it for 1 week, where I had
It's weird because like it's so memorable in my head. Yeah,
it's so memorable. But I mean, I remember it clear as day. I think maybe I did it twice, but yeah, it was. I don't know. I remember it. I do remember it getting cut pretty short.
Yeah.
though. So
Yeah, because practically it's like when you're putting on a TV show, it's like you can't be a distraction from the match, and then you don't even know that commentary is also trying to call a match. And they're like, well, we can't. This guy's talking the whole time.
Everybody's just talking.
Yeah, from a broadcasting perspective, I'm like, how are they going to coordinate with everybody talking? And oh yeah, there's this wrestling match that's happening at the same time.
Man, if I'm not mistaken, I swear I'm not making this up, but I feel like I could hear commentators
In your ear?
in my ear.
I wouldn't be surprised.
People in the back.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Like,
surprised.
almost like commentators on the left side, and then
That sounds right.
people in the back on the right.
Yep, and there's probably just one button where if a voice needs to talk to you to tell you to say something, that voice is piping in too.
Yeah.
And then there's crowd all behind you.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got to pay attention to the match, to talk about the match,
Right.
while you're hearing all of these different things. So,
Right.
I don't know.
But you also have to know, but let me not say something stupid.
Yes. Oh,
Right.
my goodness.
Which
Yeah.
again, I just feel like in the moment it's like this is impossible. But in hindsight, it's like I think I'm ready for like anything.
Yeah.
Now. Like I think whatever
Exactly.
like I'll be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
So do you know, like, so you disappear again after that for a while, and then you get brought back up to NXT Black and Gold, like NXT, and you're now Lio Rush, you're WWE Lio Rush, like you got a spotlight on you. You're riding down the tank when NXT invades SmackDown and everything. Like it's a pretty big NXT spot, and NXT is at a very high point. Did you have like were there people in WWE at the time that you know of that were like, no, I want to give him another chance. Like, this is my guy. Like, I think, or
No, really.
How did that come about then? Like, how do you end up going like, let's bring him back and let's put a spotlight on him again?
I honestly don't know.
Right.
I mean, I was off of TV for about 7-8 months.
Yeah.
I kind of just got a call out of nowhere. And then it was a thing. But I don't think anybody was specifically, vouching for me to come back. But I mean, at the same time, there weren't people saying, don't bring him in. Like,
Right.
It was just
Waiting for a spot.
Yeah. So, it just kind of happened. Maybe they just saw that I was home like for so long. It's like, well, we're either gonna fire him or we're gonna do something with him.
Right.
You know
And we're
what I
trying
mean?
to build this cruiserweight thing
Exactly.
within NXT.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's the guy to do it. So then when you're done with WWE, you're part of, the big releases that came a few years back. What did you kind of pretty quickly got back onto the independents and started building again? How different were the independents? I mean, I guess, it was during the pandemic. So pandemic aside, right? Like, I guess it's tough to put the pandemic aside, but like, were the independents or have the independents now been different since what you left, right? You were gone for 3 years. Now you're back. Were you like, oh, things are different now? Or were you like, nope, I'm fitting right in here?
I think they were so different than when I was on the indies. And this is going to make me, I don't know if this is going to make me sound old. Or,
What? You are the most grizzled 28-year-old veteran of this industry.
So I'll put it like this.
Yeah.
When I was on the indies the first time around before I got signed to WWE, I was one of the only young guys in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere I went, I was the only like young guy on.
And when you say young, you're talking like 18.
I'm talking about like
18,
19, 20
A kid.
years old, a
Yeah.
kid,
Yeah.
like on these like bigger independent wrestling shows, being on shows with like guys like Will Ospreay, being on shows with guys like Shane Strickland, being on shows with guys like Ricochet. I mean, all of
weren't
these
you,
guys
like-
are young, but they're not 20. They're not 18.
How old were you? You were like PWG wrestling Ricochet when you're like 19 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So when you got back to the indies, you noticed what? That there were like a lot more of that?
Everybody, look who's on TV right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the crop of people that are on the indies.
Mm-hmm.
everybody's 20.
Yeah.
Everybody's 21. Everybody's 23, 24. 20, you know what I mean? There's so many like kids, and you know, and I say kids, but I'm still like young myself, but I'm starting to notice, you know, people are starting to see me, you know, oh man, this is Lio Rush. Like, oh, he was in WWE. Like
100%.
this is
Well, you're going to have people now that like, if they're 20,
yeah.
they could have been watching you
Yeah.
when they were young,
Yeah.
right? If they're 20 and they're wrestling now,
Yeah.
the idea of them watching you when they're 14, 15 years old is very realistic.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. Like
Yeah.
for somebody now to come up to you and been like, "Oh, I've been watching you since I was 14." Like that's gotta.
Yeah. People will say like people will sometimes tell me that, you know, I've seen, man, I was watching you and when you were in Ring of Honor, and sometimes even I forget that I was man, I was in Ring of Honor, like I did do this.
Yeah.
Like but I mean it's so cool to see. Like I definitely feel like, and I'm not the only small wrestler in the world. You know, Rey Mysterio influenced me. Rey Mysterio, you know, motivated me to do what I've done in my career as a smaller wrestler. And I'm not saying it's the whole world, but I will get, you know, a wrestler or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever the case may be come up to me and say, like, I watched you when I was in high school or when I was in middle school, and I've seen what you done as like a young wrestler and being signed to WWE and you know, doing the things that I have in wrestling, and that, you know, that's their motivation, that's their drive. And it's still strange to me. It's strange. I'm still getting used to being a young veteran.
Yeah, I'm sure. That kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, that like that's not, you know, that's not who you've ever been. That's who you're just starting to become now. Do you pull people aside who are, I mean, there's wrestlers, they're still in high school, they're wrestling, you know, on the weekends now. Do you talk to people that are that age at shows and go like, hey, you're crushing it right now?
I do.
Take it slow, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, there's a microscope on you, and life is long.
Yeah, I try to, I you know, all of the young guys and girls, like in the locker room that you know, care to offer, care to ask me for advice or want to have a conversation with me and pick my brain, you know, I feel like, and I think I've done a lot of independent shows as of late that people can attest to this, but I'm always talking with the younger guys. I'm always trying to help them any way I can, and especially the ones that I'm getting a chance to actually work with in the ring. I think it's cool for them to work with me and realize that like we're kind of similar in age, but they see what I've done like in wrestling.
Yeah.
So they want to ask me questions and stuff like that. So I try it. Like I said, I'm still getting used to being like a young veteran in like some locker rooms, and I'm kind of shy when it comes to that, like teaching people like certain like skills or advice on something, because I feel like I know how to do the things that I do for me. Like I know what works best for me, and I try not to give somebody else advice that would be, you know, for me and mess up the trajectory of what they have going on. Or
Totally.
you know.
Like, yeah, you know how to do it for you, but the idea of you going, no, this is how it's done.
Yeah. I don't think I can.
Yeah.
I don't think I can ever really. I don't know. I feel strange about it. I feel.
It's probably right. I mean, it's that's probably the best way. Look, this is what my experience was.
Yeah.
This is what worked for me, but there's a lot of ways to do this.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
I think the ultimate advice that I try to give like younger guys is just like believe in yourself.
Yes.
Like that's like the strongest That's what worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Believing in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Believing in myself. You know what I mean? I'm not telling you to do something so specific and it'll get you. You know, it's not A plus B equals C. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
It's believe in yourself. Keep working hard. You know, stay humble, but stay confident enough that you're not too cocky.
It's a tough balance.
It's a very tough balance.
Yeah.
It's a very tough balance.
We're all still learning it, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all, yeah.
But there's a point where you can have that balance. It's not always there. It's not at the beginning stages where you gotta be humble but confident and try to not be too cocky. Right? You just at this early stage, eyes open, ears open, mouth shut, and put in the work.
Yeah. Now, do you think about when you're giving people advice? Do you also have that kind of, I don't know if empathy is the word, but the realization that like, look, they may or may not take that advice, but honestly, I may or may not have taken that advice, and I have to let people grow the way I had to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I you know, sometimes when you're young and things aren't going the way that you want them to go, you tend to like reach out for like help or advice or seek answers or whatever the case may be. But you can't have somebody hold your hand through adulting.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you have to go through your own experiences. You can have people there that care about you, but at the end of the day, you know, they are their own man or they're their own woman. They have their own responsibilities. They have their own family. Like, you can't expect people to hold your hand and
because they're still living their life.
and adopt you
right
into the family. Like, you have to go through these things. You have to learn and grow from your own experiences, your own ups, your own fuck ups, your own, you know, downs, everything. You have to do it yourself.
Well, so I mean, you go to AEW, you know, after that, and you pop in. It was just for the Battle Royal, right? You get injured.
Battle Royal got injured.
Right. And that was your first, and you're like, of course. Yep. Yep. That's how it goes for me. So you pop into a Battle Royal, you get injured. Of all the things you've done in wrestling, a Battle Royal is like usually not the most strenuous match type.
I've had Joey Janela fall off of a building on top of me multiple times.
Like,
and not a scratch.
You want to do the building thing again? Yeah. And you're fine. But so you go into a Battle Royal on AEW, you get injured. So just as we're like, oh, what's happening? Now you're injured. And at the same time, you're like, you know what? You have this moment where I think I'm done. Forget it. I quit. I quit the business. It's like, okay. And so every fan, I can only give you my perspective as a fan. Every fan watching is going like, what? Like, I just saw him. First of all, how can he be injured from a Battle Royal? That sucks. And then you're like, I'd like to officially announce my retirement. And I'm like, huh? What? So is he?
Oh man!
Is he an AEW alumni? Is he? What is? What is happening? I'm glad that you can laugh.
No, I mean because I feel like my life is really crazy.
Yeah, that's the best part about being able to like reflect on everything. And it's like, and then what happened?
I can't talk to people who don't. Like, trying to explain my life to somebody, like, who's just used to probably, like, have never even gone on a plane before.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I just can't. I just don't talk about myself anymore.
You can't. Because you're like, I'm going to Japan. They're like, that's nuts. You think that's nuts? Wait till I tell you, like how we got to a place where I'm going to Japan. So, I mean... I don't even, does Tony Khan reach out to you and be like, what do you mean you quit the business? It
was pretty, it was, I mean, I was going through a lot of heavy things in my life.
I'm sure.
That time.
Yeah.
And just certain things weren't like really lining up for me. And I was contemplating a lot of different things where I wanted to go in my career, you know, how I wanted to, you know, I don't know. Just still being young, figuring it out, my first injury.
And moving
and
fast, by the way. Like everything in your life had been moving so fast. It's like, how do you stop to think about anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the injury thing is scary.
Yeah, the injury thing is scary because it's not more so the injury, it's the timing of the injury. It's how, you know, it's how that injury affected everything that I was going through personally. You know, all the little things that trickled from the injury. Like the injury, it wasn't a life-threatening injury.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not the injury that made me want to retire. It was the timing of the injury that made me want to take a step away, rethink my life, where I wanted to go. It was a lot. So I won't go too deep into you know, what it is exactly I was going through, but it affected a lot. It affected, you know, my inner household. It affected my family. It affected my friends. It affected everybody who knew me.
Which then it's like you're just talking about the one thing that saved you the first time was that you had your family there.
Yeah.
And so once that gets disrupted, it's like everything's disrupted.
Yeah. So it was just like little things trickling off of, and then something else would fall down. It's like a fucking like Monopoly, just or dominoes.
The dominoes keep.
Just, it's like, man, I didn't even know I had this many dominoes that could fall.
Right.
It's like, fuck.
And then the beauty of social media, you know, back in the old days, you might have had those thoughts, you might have said it to your friends, but it wouldn't have been this declaration.
Yeah.
And now because we have the wonderful thing that is Twitter and social media, everybody's now on board for this, which is probably the worst thing when you're going through stuff is to have everybody opining.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but I mean, even with that, like I social media is not real life.
So, 100% true.
You know, it's a portal into what people want to showcase. And it can be bad, it can be good, it can be, you know, a mixture of all the things depending on what person feels comfortable with showing or expressing or whatever the case may be. But not letting that dictate too much. Like I said, like outside of wrestling, you know, at the end of the day, I'm a 28-year-old dad and husband, and that is what's most important to me.
That's who you are.
That's who I am.
Yeah.
Now I need to figure out how that works with what I have. So, that's always going to be what's most important to me. It's not like, oh, man, I really want to work here because I want to be the world champion. It's like, does the schedule match up? How does the money look? Where are we going to be living? Where is so much other different factors into, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like social media just kind of makes it about one thing.
Totally.
And it's the one thing that's not even, it's just a mixture of everybody's stuff. So I don't know.
So when did you feel like you came out of that? I don't know if you want to fog, but you know what I mean? Not to like make it sound lesser than, but like when did you feel like you're like, okay, this I'm coming out of this bad period of my life, and I think I'm ready to start wrestling again?
I think truthfully, I feel like you know, getting hurt after that, you know, I was already kind of on the fence about wrestling because I was still kind of hurt about my WWE release in some way, shape, or form. So I was still kind of bitter. I was still angry. I feel like maybe coming back, I was doing it for the wrong things. It wasn't for the love of wrestling. It was probably to get my family out of the shit that I just put everybody in. And I feel like that's what ultimately led up to me getting injured a second time, because the first time around, I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I'm not even going to say I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I wasn't doing it for the love of wrestling. For the moment, the feeling of being inside of a wrestling ring. I wasn't doing it for that reason. This time around, I feel like I'm in love with wrestling again.
You found it again.
I found it again. I feel like I'm having fun with it again. I feel like I'm making it work with what I have outside of wrestling, but still figuring that out ultimately where I want to be, because I'm still a free agent at the end of the day.
Sure.
But yeah, I feel good about where I am right now. Even my rehab felt different than the first rehab that I had. Like, I feel stronger. I feel healthier. I feel more enlightened mentally.
And did you feel like that second physical rehab, it was more like, I'm rehabbing because I'm going to wrestle again because I want to wrestle again? Or do you think that was...
That rehab was also felt like, you know, not just a physical rehab for me, but a mental rehab for me, a spiritual rehab for me. Like everything, because it was such a long period of time, you know, being out for 11 months, you know, things change in my life in 2 weeks. So 11 months, so many different things happening. And
it's like 3 lifetimes for most of us.
Yeah, like living in this country, being in that country, revisiting the past, seeing family members that I haven't seen in years, being in places that I haven't been in years, almost kind of revisiting all of these things from my past, and not like making up for some things, but seeing it from a different, it's like seeing myself in 2 different, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, to an extent, that's probably true. Like, this is the adult version of you going back to the spots that maybe you haven't been since you were a kid.
Yeah.
You know?
It was so odd for me, and I'll use my sister as an example. But I have a younger sister. And I believe when I decided to, you know, move from home, move from D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, and, you know, be signed to WWE, go to Florida, live in Florida for 3 years, go to L.A., live in L.A. for 3 years, travel the world, do everything. By the time I came back to D.C., my baby sister was over 21 years old. And now we're having a face-to-face, real-life conversation. You know, I'm now talking to the adult version of my baby sister.
Yeah.
And just kind of seeing, like, you know, because we all went through the same stuff as kids, but seeing, okay, this is how it affected you. This is how it affected me. This is the life that you've been on. This is the path that I've been on. But we're, at the end of the day, we're still brother and sister. Like, what, you know what I mean? It was so strange, but I feel like that's how I'm seeing every little, you know, every person that I'm starting to see again, every place that I'm starting to go back to, every, you know, places that I've never, this interview. I've known you since I started wrestling. And we're just now doing this interview. So, like, all the things that I was supposed to do, or not supposed to do, but I could have done in paths that I've crossed in the past. Like, you know, I didn't really talk about it all that much, and this but me doing an Impact show was a big deal for me, because that's the only company on TV that I haven't wrestled for.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, but I've always been a fan of, like, Impact Wrestling, and I've always watched Impact, but just those paths never crossed. So being able to do that show during Mania Week was, like, a big deal for me. You
don't have to say anything more than you want to say. Did you go to therapy, or did you kind of come to this on your own? Or would you
I came to this on my own. I was in therapy when I was in WWE.
Okay.
I was.
It just seems very enlightened, so I wondered if.
No, I was in therapy when I was in WWE, but I don't know why I'm laughing.
But it's a wild time.
But just, I think me being signed to WWE that young, I think I got introduced to a higher I don't know, level in the world at a young age, like being exposed to business and dealing with like a big company like that and seeing what I've seen and everything, and then going from going from WWE to moving to LA, but being on my own, it kind of felt familiar in a way because I've been dealing with like business people and, you know, TV and everything. So going from WWE to LA, being on my own, you know, even still till now, I've seen and just gone through and experienced so many different things. I feel like this is me just, you know, I think I just have a lot of life experience for how young I am.
I mean, yeah, that's that's probably the understatement of the century. Yeah, I don't even know if you fully realize how much life experience you have.
I don't.
Like,
I try not to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 10 years older than you and 11 years older than you, and I would draw from your life experience and like learn from that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like at 28, like I'm thinking of myself at 28.
Yeah.
And I was still figuring out what you had to figure out when you were 21.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's a really atypical,
like
wild thing, which is why like all the stuff that surrounds you.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, it's interesting. This WrestleMania past weekend, I noticed it. Like, I just kind of listened to what everybody says, and I don't even remember who was saying it, but it's like there's a lot of people, I think, in wrestling that are excited about the idea of you getting to be an adult. And like you, because it's like everybody sees it's all there, like all the potential that's there. And it's like when he becomes an adult, like when he stops growing, like when he's not a kid anymore, he's gonna be a beast. Like he's like, this is just we're all on the journey together.
Yeah.
And most people don't have to have an entire audience of human beings going with them on the journey of figuring out what.
But see, when you say that, I just want to be like, bah, bah, bah. I'm focused. Like I can't, because it feels like, yeah, I'm.
You just not like to think about it in such large
tunnel,
yeah.
My tunnel vision is so, and you know,
and it should be
extreme.
It should be. I mean, that's the athlete in you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yes, I have the privilege of getting to watch the kind of full body. You've got to live it. So yeah, your tunnel vision is right, and you shouldn't be distracted.
Yeah.
By all the other stuff. What's it been like for you to now be in a position where you're going over to Japan and not just, it's one thing to be wrestling for New Japan in Los Angeles, which is amazing, but to now also be going over to Japan and doing tours over there. Is that, what's that like?
It's incredibly fulfilling.
Yeah.
I respect New Japan so much. I think even I look at it as a sport. Like I look at it as like such a respected art form because I feel like wrestling in Japan is so different than wrestling anywhere else, and I feel like it's so simplistic but beautiful. Like I feel like the storytelling stands out through the wrestling so much. Like they don't need the heavy drama type storylines to make you care about a specific person. I feel like that level of intimate attraction and gravitating towards somebody through their wrestling, like being able to tell that story and make people feel the way that they feel through like movement,
Yes,
is so much more powerful to me. And I think everybody else can see that too, because think about how many wrestling fans watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, but watch it with the Japanese commentary on.
Yeah.
They have no idea what they're saying.
Right.
Some do. You know what I mean? Not everybody.
Right. Most people.
But they
here
enjoy
don't.
seeing it.
And they're following the stories. They have favorites.
Yeah, they're following
You know what I mean?
the
They have,
story.
this is my favorite. Right? They're following, and it is. Well, because when you're telling those stories through movement,
Yeah.
now there's layers,
Yeah.
right? There's layers that can't be.
Yeah.
It goes beyond, without getting too heady about it. It goes beyond language.
Yeah.
Right. And it is that sort of, as they've always said, like, why is WWE so popular everywhere? And it's because everybody can understand these stories that are being told.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's it in its rawest form, because it's what stories, and you don't even have to be a wrestling fan, right? That's when it's great. When a physical story can be told through moves.
Yeah.
And somebody that's not a wrestling fan can still go along for that ride.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Those who make up the best professional wrestlers in the world for me.
Yeah.
The ones who know how to tell a story without saying a single word.
Yeah. Yeah. And then sometimes while they're trying to do that, there's somebody on the outside of the ring with a microphone who's talking throughout the entire match.
Yeah.
Trying to tell those stories. And
Yeah.
now you've done both.
Yeah.
You've talked through an entire match and then also wrestled in a style where there's no talking whatsoever.
Yes.
That's how you become a well-rounded performer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I mean, are you at a point right now where you're looking at, this is the plan, this is where I want to go? Or are you just, I'm just going to keep doing what I enjoy?
I think right now I'm just doing things.
Yes.
I want to have a plan, but I know that things change so much.
Yeah.
And something could happen that you never thought would ever happen.
And you have to be ready.
And you have to be ready for it. So I'm just kind of doing things. My main focus is just staying healthy. Staying healthy physically, trying to stay healthy mentally, trying to stay healthy spiritually. Because it's hard.
How do you do that? That's what I was going to ask you. How do you mentally and spiritually, like, you found happiness again, you refound a love for wrestling. Do you think about, like, okay, I've thought about it, I know what took it away to some extent, I think I know how I got it back. How do you hold it, right? When you're in a good mental space, how do you hold on to it?
I think holding on to it is, I think it's probably a lot easier than people think. I think getting it is one thing, and I think you know this too, but getting it is one thing, but holding on to it is an entirely different thing. But I think holding on to it is a lot easier than getting there. I feel like getting there is the journey. I think you have to be happy, completely comfortable, and content with who you are as an individual, and understanding what your purpose is in life, what you currently have. For me, that's my family. Like, growing up, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I wanted to be a professional wrestler. That's what I wanted to do, like, in my life, my dream, since I was 5 years old. And you know, I became a professional wrestler. The moment I signed up for wrestling school, well, I'll say the moment I had my first match, I became a professional wrestler. My dream, done. I accomplished it. It's like, what do I do now at night, you know, at 18 years old? And I feel like I now know that wrestling is a tool for me out of many tools that I will get over time to better help me gain certain opportunities to make a certain amount of money or create a certain lane for the people that I care about. And I feel like my overall purpose is what I'm, you know, figuring out or have figured out is to provide for my family. Like that's my purpose. That is what I'm supposed to do as a man. So I feel like now I'm in still those stages of getting certain opportunities and, you know, working hard through those opportunities to better provide or assist with providing for my family. And that is, I don't know, that's, yeah, that is how I'm maintaining it right now because I'm doing what I'm good at. I hate saying this. I fucking hate saying this. I really hate it. I'm doing what I am trained to be good at.
You're pretty good at it.
I'm doing it in a good way, physically. So I'm able to do that. I'm able to do it while I'm with my family. Mm-hmm. I'm able to make enough money to maintain living. I mean, we're still alive, still being able to, you know, live and take care of responsibilities and stuff like that. And now the next stage is finding a comfortable, you know, environment to maintain that for a long period of time.
I love that. That's I couldn't have scripted a better place to end on, especially because, I mean, that's like, so that's how, you know, like when you're young, it's like, well, I got to do this and then I got to do this. I got to be the best of this. I got to be the best of this. And then you get to a point where it's like, I want to do what I love and support the people that I love.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be doing from now until the end of the line.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
That's it.
And then and be happy doing it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, Lio Rush, is there anything, any direction you want to send people into in terms of promoting stuff that you're doing or Fake Life social media or merch or whatever?
Well, you can go on my Fake Life social media if you want to see what I am doing next in the world of professional wrestling and any other avenue and adventure that I'm going on. It's definitely a interesting and fun one right now. So if you really want to see what I'm doing right now in my career, go to my Fake Life social media, please. At I am Lio Rush. It's so simple. Easy. I am Lio Rush on Twitter and Instagram.
I love it, man. I appreciate you coming out here and making time for it. And I'm it's not easy to take everybody on your journey with you, but we're good. I love the place that we're at with the journey. So congratulations, man.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome.